Good morning, everyone. My name is Amir, and I welcome you all on behalf of the AICB Center at Wildlife Institute of India. Next, to- yes. So, National Wildlife Week in India is celebrated annually from October 2nd to October 8th to raise awareness about the wildlife conservation and the importance of protecting the country's rich biodiversity. Established in 1957, this week coincides with the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, emphasizing principles of non-violence and compassion towards all living beings. The observance of National Wildlife Week originated from the Indian Board of Wildlife's efforts in 1952, evolving from a single day to a week-long celebration, which aimed at fostering a culture of conservation throughout the country. This initiative has since become a significant platform for engaging communities in wildlife protection and conservation efforts. So today we have with us Mr. Sagar Rajpurkar. Mr. Sagar is a dedicated marine researcher who is currently working as a principal project associate at the Wildlife Institute of India under the Campa Dugong project. With a strong academic foundation, he holds a master's degree in marine biology from Pondicherry University. His research is focused on India's vulnerable dugong populations, particularly in Andaman and Nicobar archipelago. Mr. Sagar is also pursuing his PhD from the Wildlife Institute of India, where his innovative work integrates UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, to study dugongs and their habitats. By leveraging cutting-edge technology, his research aims to improve the conservation efforts for these endangered marine mammals, and also to contribute to the understanding of their critical ecosystems. So, as far as this webinar is concerned, we are going with this year's World Wildlife Day theme of connecting people and planet, wherein we will be exploring digital innovations in wildlife conservation. So, Mr. Sagar will be speaking on integrating UAVs, computer vision, and artificial intelligence in dugong research. And we'll be having a short question answer session at the end of this session. So you can put on your questions if you have any comments or suggestions in the chat box on the in the YouTube. So over to you, Sagar, and I welcome you officially um, with the. So we can start the presentation. Please go ahead.
Amir, am I audible?
Yes, perfectly audible.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. So yeah, give me a minute to just present
Yes,
my
yes.
slides. I'll share the screen.
Yeah. Yes. There you go.
So are the slides visible?
Yes, they are visible. Perfectly
Yeah.
visible. Please go ahead.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Sagar Rajpurkar. Thank you, Amir, for the lovely introduction. Yeah, so today I'll be talking about the topic from pixels to conservation, integrating unmanned aerial vehicles, computer vision, and artificial intelligence in dugong research. So starting with the species in concern here, like dugongs are also known as sea cows. Dugongs are marine mammals that have inspired stories of mermaids. They are globally threatened. They are classified as vulnerable according to IUCN. Dugongs, moreover like humans, have a lifespan of about 70 years. An adult dugong can grow up to the size of 3.5 to 4 meters and can weigh up to 400 kgs. Dugongs dugongs attain sexual maturity at the age of around 10 to 17 years, which is variable, and then they have a slow reproductive rate. Dugongs feed exclusively on seagrasses and are found in shallow coastal waters. So when you look at the global distribution, they are found in the east coast of Africa, the Persian Gulf, in India, in across Southeast Asia, and in Australia. Australia harbors the highest population of dugongs, followed by the Persian Gulfs, where they are found in herds. Their diet is mainly seagrasses, and the closest relatives of dugongs are manatees, and the closest land relative of the dugong is the elephant. So dugongs have to surface every 5 to 7 minutes to breathe. and these gentle giants eat about 30 kgs of seagrasses every day. In India, dugongs are distributed in Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and Andaman Nicobar, where the population is continuously declining. So, as I said earlier, the population of, the dugongs are said to be vulnerable in the global scenario. But when you look at the Indian context, they are critically endangered with a population of about 200 to 250 individuals that thrive in the wild. So, it is very difficult to save a species which is under a constant threat. So, what are the threats, you would ask? So, the main threats of dugongs are mainly anthropogenic, which include accidental net entanglement, poaching, hunting, propeller cuts, and habitat degradation. So, dugongs basically are globally threatened and their populations are declining. And as they are slow breeders, conservation becomes a top priority. So when you want to conserve the animal, the first thing that you need to do is to see where they are. And to monitor any marine megafauna, there are three main methods which are actively used globally. The first is the most traditional method, that is boat-based surveys. Boat-based surveys are surveys in which researchers or scientists use, like normal boats, fishing boats, or sometimes research vessels. They go out at sea to look and scan for marine mammals. So this might be dugongs, dolphins, or other marine megafauna. So they use binoculars to look for species. The second way is aerial surveys. Aerial surveys can be both manned and unmanned. So manned aerial surveys use your normal aircrafts which are modified into aeroplanes and are used widely. And unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs are drones which are widely used. And then the third main setting here is acoustic surveys, wherein the sound that the marine mammal produce are recorded using hydrophones and are studied. Today we'll be focusing mainly on aerial surveys. So, as I said, aerial surveys are of two types, manned and unmanned. And there are several ways why unmanned aerial systems are considered to be slightly better than manned systems. These advantages include that unmanned aerial systems, that is UAVs, are cost effective. They do not they cause less to no carbon emission. UAVs can fly at lower elevations, that thus having higher maneuverability, and they can behavior as they can be used for focal follows. So moving to what basically UAVs are. UAVs are unmanned aerial vehicles without a pilot on board. So these are normal aircrafts without a pilot on board. And then there are four main categories of UAVs. They include multi-rotor drones, so rotors are basically motors. So multi-rotor drones are drones with multiple rotors. The normal drones that we see all around are multi-rotors. Then you have fixed wing drones. Fixed wing drones are your normal aircraft, miniature aircraft without a pilot on board, and they require a runway to take off and land. Then you have single rotor helicopters, which are normal helicopters which are used generally for vaccine deliveries and things like that. And then you have fixed wing hybrids, VTOLs, that is vertical takeoff and landing. These are basically fixed wing drones that can be used for which do not require a runway and can be used for vertical takeoff and landing. So so that was the reason, like to save a species as cryptic as dugongs, we decided to study. We decided to use unmanned aerial vehicle technology to study the species in concern and to understand its behavior and other aspects of dugongs. So that's when we looked at the research that was done by Rolt et al. And this was the flowchart of the protocol that has to be considered before starting any survey for marine megafauna using unmanned aerial vehicles. So the first thing that one needs to check is if the species have been previously studied with drones. So first we look at the species that have been previously studied. Then we look at what aspects of the species need to be studied. Then we look at information that needs to be collected regarding the species. Then we move to an appropriate payload, like what drone can be used, what type of drone can be used for the study, and what are the different types of payload that can be used. And based on that, the flight is programmed, and based on that, data management and programming is decided. So when we started looking at Sirenians, that is dugongs, there was a like this paper also gave a standard methodology for dugongs, which said that transects are one of the best ways, and we can actually like take the drone to 20 meters without disturbing the animal to study its behavior. Then we looked at what are the best case technologies that are available outside and like across the world, which are used to study, marine megafauna using drones. And that's when we came across Snotbot. So what you can see here is a picture of a blue whale mother and calf with a drone flying on top of it. So this was an innovation, technological innovation, which was started by DJI in collaboration with Ocean Alliance, wherein they decided to study health of wild populations of whales, and this was done using Snotbot. So this was a specifically designed drone with petri plates attached to it. So as we know, whales are mammals and they have to surface to breathe. So when they surface, they blow air, and with that there is a splash of water that also gets blown away. And when they blow, the snot, that is the mucus in from the nasal opening, also gets sprayed in the water. So what basically the Snotbot does is it collects these samples, and then these samples are being used to actually study the effect of pollutants, the health of the whale, and also collect precious genetic samples. Earlier, like all the techniques that were used were invasive, wherein the whale had to be caught. It used to be shot with a sniper gun, and samples were taken. So these were invasive techniques. So what Snotbot basically did is they have made a technology that can collect samples in a non-invasive way without actually disturbing the animal. So we realized that the drone technology that we have is very advanced. If you ask me right now, the technology has gone so advanced that it can be used to actually tag whales. So large animals like whales can be used. Okay, large animals like whales can be tagged using drones, and Snotbot is like one of the best case that is out there. So with that, we decided to carry on aerial surveys. So in 2019, we carried out the first aerial surveys in India. So before this study, no aerial surveys were actually carried out in India, and for that we used uh, quadcopter drones, which were lightweight with about the weight of 1 kg, and we had our pilot surveys in Andaman Nicobar Islands. So in the first aerial monitoring survey, we found out that drones are very effective in actually studying dugongs. And in the first effort that we did in our pilot surveys, we not only were able to detect dugongs, but a wide range of marine megafauna that included zebra sharks, spotted eagle rays, turtles, as you can see in the picture. Apart from that, we also saw that a range of other species like squids were also being detected. Certain fish, shoals of fish like needlefish or huge shoals of fish were detected. This helped us understand that unmanned aerial systems can be used in India, and they can be used for a wide range of applications. We also realized they can also be used to monitor threats. Like we saw a lot of fishing activities going on, dredging activities, different oil spills, oil leaks that were there. These are all being detected by drones. And with that, we developed a methodology to basically study dugongs in Indian waters. So as initially when the project started, we tried traditional methods like boat surveys, but they were ineffective as dugongs would consider a boat as a threat and would run away from a boat. And that is why drones came into the picture, and we developed the standard protocol. So the standard protocol we developed was using strip transects, like we have transects on land. Similarly, we have transects in the air over the water. These transects were carried out in critical dugong habitats and identified seagrass meadows. The height of the drone was about 100 meters with a strip width of 75 meter with the camera facing below, and the details of the transects are given below. Like each transect was about 3 kilometers in length, and there were two transects that were conducted in one flight. And then the speed of the UAV was kept constant at 35 kilometers per hour. So this is what the aerial survey platform would look like, wherein the drone operator would be on the shore, and the drone would fly collecting the data, and this is how the transects would take place. So in each flight, the drone would go 3 kilometers, then it would take a turn for 300 meters, and it would come back, and continuous video recording would be done. And this was the first systematic survey that we did as a part of the Campa Dugong project. So when we started our drone surveys, we got a lot of dugong detections. So certain highlights of the first phase included that we got first photographic evidence of dugongs from the state of Gujarat. We were able to cite more than 150 dugongs, which are very rare and cryptic. So we had more than 150 sightings during our surveys. And as aerial surveys were conducted in critical dugong habitats, we were able to detect not only dugongs but also a wide range of species like dolphins, stingrays, manta rays, sharks, turtles. And then the footage that we were recording was of very high definition. Like we were recording the footage at 2.7K at 60 frames per second. So we were having a lot of data, like about 3.5 to 4 GB of data for a around 5-minute video. So the species that we saw during our surveys included spotted eagle rays, which are classified as endangered, manta rays, which are vulnerable, zebra sharks, which are endangered, and dugongs, which are again vulnerable. So then we were left with a lot of data, and that is when we decided to actually we decided to do something more than just like studying dugongs. That is when we decided to integrate artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is a term that we hear a lot in the recent years. But what basically is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence basically leverages computers and machines to mimic the problem solving and decision making capabilities of the human mind. So these can include tasks like reasoning, problem solving, and other perceptions. The goal of artificial intelligence is basically to create systems that can mimic or stimulate human cognitive function, or basically can mimic the human mind. So with that, we decided to integrate artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, which are basically all subsets of artificial intelligence. So we decided to automate the entire process, and how we did it is what I'll be talking about in today's presentation. So moving to computer vision. So computer vision is basically a field of artificial intelligence or AI that enables computers to see and understand the visual world. It basically uses machine learning models to analyze images, videos, and identify and classify objects. Computer vision can be used to automate tasks that can replicate human capabilities. So when we used to collect the videos of dugongs, we realized that the data set we had was significantly large and was of species that are very lesser known. So that is why we decided to use the artificial intelligence and computer vision technology and integrate it with our research on dugongs. So what we decided to do was basically to train and create a model that can automate the entire process, and we wanted to see if artificial intelligence and deep learning can be used with the UAV technology to conserve Indian dugongs and develop a better understanding of them. So that's why to automate and to make the process easier, we decided to use artificial intelligence, and we decided to create a model with the aim that first, can it classify multiple species? And second, how accurate can the model be in classifying and identifying things, which is very difficult for non-biologists. So the first thing that we did was we decided to have a training data set. So with the videos that we had, we decided to have the step count or the frame skip method, in which we selected every 25th frame of each video. This was done to ensure that all the frames that we selected were different from each other, and that was used to basically train the model. So to train the model, we used a total of 814 distinct frames, which was made out of 1,128 objects. This all came from a parent data set of more than 25,000 frames and 31 HD images. And then the species that we decided to train the model on were dugongs, dolphins, manta rays, spotted eagle rays, turtles, and zebra sharks. These are all the species that we saw during our surveys, and we decided to develop a model to basically identify and classify these species. So what we did next was we decided to train the model, and the main integral part of training the model is making the annotations. So to annotate it, what we decided was to employ two different annotation techniques, which are bounding box annotation and polygon annotations. So for species like manta rays, we decided to use bounding box, and species like dugongs, zebra shark, we decided to use the polygon annotation. So in this, we basically separate, the main animal from the background, so that the model that is trained can be can automate the entire process and identify the animal in concern. So for the training and validation data set, we trained the model using the 25,000 images that I said with 1,128 objects, and we got a precision of 90%, a recall of 97%, and this was the training and validation data set that we had. So this showed that these are the basic graphs that we got, which showed that we got a mean high average precision value. This showed that the model that we had trained was accurate, but then we had not trained, like we had trained the model, but we had to test of how accurate the model is. So we decided to test it. So for model testing, we gave them a data set which was not known. So this was the data set which it had not seen during training. So we made a test data set to see how accurate the model is, and we decided to give it frames, and the model that was trained was basically deployed on these frames to see. And then for the test data set, we got the following result. So the result that we got was for species like dugong, when we gave it a test data set, we got 100% precision, recall, and F1 score. This showed that the model was completely accurate and made no error in identifying dugongs. The same was with zebra sharks, and for dolphins, we had an overall precision, accuracy, and recall of 97%. Then moving to species like manta rays and spotted eagle rays, which are very similar, and even on field, they are very similar for researchers to distinguish between. So for species that actually take a lot of effort, the model was basically very accurate in identifying them, and it did its task immaculately. But for species like marine turtles, the model struggled quite a bit. This was because the model that we used was using frames. And when you look at still images or frames, turtles look very similar even to the human eye, and they kind of mimic a rock or a live coral. And that is the reason why we got a poor accuracy. So the model that we made was accurate for most species except turtles. So this is how the model actually performs. So this is the result that we got. So as you can see in this video, for every frame, the model is not only identifying what species it is, like it is identifying the dugong, and the number that you can see changing is the confidence, like how confident the model is that it is a dugong. In every frame, the model is able to identify the species, it is able to track it actively, and it gives a high confidence value. This showed that the model that we have created was very accurate. And yeah, again, this is the result for the species of spotted eagle ray. As you can see, in almost every frame, wherever the entire animal can be seen, the box is created. It is not only able to identify the animal, but also its tail, and it gives a very high confidence value. So for all the species except turtles, we made with the test result, we got a very high score, and this was the result of the model that we made. So then we with this model, the main aim is not only it is to make technology accessible not only to researchers but also to a lot of stakeholders. When we do our research, we get a lot of dugong sightings, or we get a lot of footage from other monitoring bodies like Navy, Coast Guard, and they come up with a lot of footage, but they are not able to identify what species this is. So a model like this can basically not only identify the species but can also track it, and it can be used for a wider range, not only just for researchers. With that, we decided to train forest department personals, and so far we have trained about 65 people, not only to use drones, but to fly them and actively monitor the wildlife habitats that we have in our country. So we have arranged more than 22 workshops across all dugong distribution states, and the personnel that we have trained are used to fly drones independently, and we have established drone squads. So apart from using artificial intelligence, what we have realized is drones are very effective in understanding dugong behavior, and right now we are focusing on understanding dugong behavior because very little is known about dugongs from Indian waters. So this is the socializing behavior that I have recorded in the Andaman Islands. As you can see, there are three animals, and they are interacting with each other, and we are trying to understand the time activity budgets and behavioral patterns of these animals. We are also trying to individually identify the animals. Like if you can see, there are different scars on different animals. So based on that, we are also trying to use artificial intelligence in future that can individually identify each dugong, that so that we can actually monitor the wild populations better. And we are planning an integrated approach with the state forest departments. So what UAVs have done basically is they have given us an insight about the lives of dugongs. And this is a video of mother and calf pair, which I had recorded in North Andamans, wherein the mother dugong is seen swimming with the calf, where it is trying to teach it a lot of things. Like if you can see here, the dugong is actually floating on its back, and the mother is helping the calf to do the same. So this is a very important video that technologies like the unmanned systems have helped us with, and integrating it with computer vision and artificial intelligence is only going to take it forward. So concluding my talk today, the key highlights of the research that we have done is this is the first study to accurately detect and identify multiple marine species from Indian waters. It is effective in tracking and monitoring, and it is a tool that can be used by our stakeholders like state forest departments. Like we are not only training them with drones, but we plan on training them with modern techniques like artificial intelligence. And the further plan is to make this into a scalable model. Right now, the model that we have created can only identify the six species. And as we get data on other co-occurring species in Indian waters, the model can be further strengthened, and it can be further used by a lot of other stakeholders and other researchers actively. With this, I'd like to acknowledge the following people, and thanks a lot. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much, Sagar. So I think we should head towards the chat section. So we have a question from Kuberan Ganesan. So he's saying that he's asking, can Snotbot operate in all weather conditions?
So snotbot basically is a technique that is under development, and it can be most of the drones that we have that are being used today have certain limitations, that they have a wind resistance of about 50 kilometers per hour. So drones like snotbot can like anything less than 50 kilometers per hour. If the wind is less than 50 kilometers per hour, it can be used. But it is always advisable not to use things like particularly like talking about snotbot. If it is raining, that is something wherein you would not want to use snotbot, because all the samples that you collect will get diluted. And drones are basically limited by certain weather conditions, like extremely high wind, thunderstorms, or heavy rains are something that can limit drones. But right now, with the technology advancing as we speak, we have drones that can fly for days and that can fly across all weather conditions.
Yeah. So we have another question from the same guy. How can the AI models help avoid probability errors, especially concerning dolphins? So he wants you to explain it further.
Yeah. So right now, the model that we have developed can only identify if it is a dolphin, but we cannot go to multiple species. Like we have not reached to the species identification. There are very few studies that can actually go to species identification. Like even if you talk to researchers who are working on dolphins, like any cetacean experts, it is very difficult to identify dolphins even from pictures. Like even if you have DSLRs, even if you have say 20, 30 different shots, there are so many different morphologies of a dolphin. There are so many different patterns of the same species that it is very difficult to actually identify. But then again, AI is something that is growing, and what a human can do is something that we can train the model to basically identify. So if the model is being trained in a way wherein a human can identify the species from the pictures, in future the artificial intelligence model that we have using machine learning and computer vision techniques, it can definitely identify. It can definitely identify, but it is still an ongoing process.
Online
And the
process.
other thing that I would like to add here is, AI right now can identify even between two twins. Like you have facial unlock features on your phones, wherein even two
Um,
twins that are there can be identified by using neural networks. So
um,
integrating convolutional neural networks in artificial intelligence can definitely go with identification of multiple species. But right now we don't have that kind of data. So it's something that has started, but it will need a lot of improvement,
okay.
especially
So
for species identification.
yeah, cool, cool. We have another question, so I'll be putting it on display. Can you see it?
Yeah. So
Do
thanks,
you?
Akshata, for the question. Yeah. So
Yes.
for annotation, we initially were using Supervisely. So Supervisely was earlier a free platform when we used it, but right now there are a lot of annotation tools that are available. Like apart from Supervisely, there is Label Studio, there is CVAT. Amazon Web Service have their own labeling and annotation tool. So right now, when you look for it, like there are a lot of annotation tools that are there. Specifically, we use Supervisely, and then we connected the Supervisely model to Amazon Web Services, and based on that, like we have trained the model.
Yes. So the Prathamesh is asking how close can we expect a dugong from shore?
Yeah. So again, like thanks Prathamesh for the question. I think he was there with me in one of my surveys,
Okay.
and yeah, we did see a dugong very close to the shore. So dugongs sometimes can come very close to the shore, especially during high tides. So the closest that I have seen was less than 5 meters, wherein you can visually see the dugong. But again, they are very specific, like very specialized marine mammal, and usually you can find them even pretty offshore. But there are times when they come very close to the shore. And again, like dugongs basically feed only on seagrasses. So dugong presence will be determined by seagrasses. So if you have a seagrass meadow close to the shore, they will come close to the shore. Because they have to feed on about 30 kgs of seagrasses every day. They have to come in areas where they get their food. So yeah, it depends. It's a very generalized. I don't have the specific answer to it, but again, it depends on the resource and the food availability.
Okay, okay. Nice, nice. So I have one more question for you. So it's like, how are the environmental factors like water turbidity and glare handled in the UAV based data collection processing?
Yeah.
How do you
So
find?
right now, the first study that we did has been in clear waters. Like if you see the videos that I had shown and everything, this is from Andamans. But
Okay.
right now, we are also training the model to see how it performs across different parameters, across turbidity.
Okay.
Like turbidity, like so, what I have seen is I have done my surveys in Tamil Nadu. The model is fairly accurate in turbidity, but the main concern that we have is glare. So the models that we have developed or AI basically works with pixels. And what happens to a pixel during glare is it burns. So there is no information stored in the pixel. So even if it is turbid, as soon as you can see the animal, the AI can develop, the AI can detect the animal and the entire process gets automated. But if there is a lot of sun glare, like the entire water is shimmering, that is when it becomes difficult for it to actually identify what the shape is, what the pixel information is, and that makes it further difficult to actually identify the species. So glare is definitely something. And then this is just the primary model that we have made. We actually have to
Yeah.
test it across various parameters
Landscape.
and see how it can be. So the first question that we had has it, can it identify similar looking species? Like you had dolphins and dugongs, which aerially might look a little similar to a lot of people, and spotted eagle rays and manta rays, which are again very similar. But then the model that we created in ideal conditions was able to distinguish between these species. Now, the further thing is how different environmental variables can be used, and that's a very good question asked. So, that is something we are working towards.
Nice, 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 nice. So that's it. Well, I think that is it from the chat box. We had questions from the chat box. So thank you very much, Sagar. So as we conclude this insightful session on integrating UAVs, computer vision, and artificial intelligence on Intercom research, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Sagar Rajpurkar for sharing his valuable knowledge and innovations, and his approaches to the conservation. So we hope today's webinar has inspired each one of you to think about how digital innovations can support the broader mission of wildlife conservation. So together through this interdisciplinary efforts and technological advancements, we can make a tangible difference in protecting our planet's biodiversity. Thank you everyone for being a part of the journey. So we look forward to continuing this conservation, this conversation as we push the boundaries of conservation science. So stay connected, stay curious, and thank you again, Sagar. Thank you for joining us again. We look forward to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you. Take care.